That looks like it is. I was gonna say actually.
All right. I think we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. The finance presentation. This was Cindy's idea, good idea a couple years ago that we take some of this time out of the annual meeting and just do it in advance and take a good preliminary look at the financials before we finalize them. And it's a good chance to just slow down, take a deep breath and look at the finances over the last year and then the year coming up ahead. So welcome everyone online. So let's get started. Okay, so lots of numbers here, but I think where I'd like to get started is just some thank yous. We have a great team here at Immanuel, and I don't think any of this there's just too many people to thank without missing people, but I think Deanna Hess really does a nice job of pulling everything together. She makes everyone look good, including me, which isn't always easy. So I really appreciate that, and I'd also like to give a shout out to Harvey Yeager. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things, and we'll hear more about the landscaping project and things like that at the annual meeting, I'm sure, but he's just done a fantastic job this year. I also want to recognize June has spent 31 years in the accounting team. It was great run, just of continued service, and it's worth recognizing. And probably it's a team I'd like to call is just for the touch point implementation. It was quite the project that started last year, but then really got going this year. So many people involved with Rhonda, Mark, and just so many. Like Brian really helped lead us along, and it just touched so much of what we do on the finance team, and the nice app that we all have to keep it in touch. So I think with that said, let's talk a little bit about financials. So it's what we have up here today. We got the balance sheet. I think it's a good place to start. It's just a little word about what's in and what's out on this. So this is the Immanuel Lutheran Church balance sheet. It's all the operations of the church, all the special funds of the church, but excludes the foundation. They have their own finance, and it excludes things like the men's club. They have their own financial operations, even though we're kind of supporting them a little bit more with Touchpoint and things like that. Just a little technical piece. It's a cash basis financial statement. So that means basically if we collect the money or if we spend the money, it's going to find its way on to the balance sheet. And we just really limit the other kind of accruals and journal entries of things that aren't quite cash yet that happen. So that's just a little bit about that. So as you'll see, the one line I highlighted on the top is cash and investments. You'll see we went up to $604,000 almost by the end of December. Couple things, just big picture that accounted for that is you'll see on the general funds, we went up there, and that's due to, well, I've got another slide on that, but I'll talk more about that in a bit. Also, you'll see the capital campaign balance. We've been spending that money and collecting it along the year. Got another slide for that. The way I like to think of, so we have the cash on the top, and then the equity section is really how we've designated the funds that have been donated to the church. And we have the bequests and memorials. These are including the general fund. So that we think of that as the uncommitted funds. This is what the church has at its disposal that is kind of uncommitted at this point. So the the council has the ability to kind of assign these different unrestricted gifts to different ministries as they see fit. And then just by our policy, so at the end of the year, we had $275,000 in funds. A lot of those came as a result of bequests and memorials, so I'll just make a quick plug. This is a great way to support the church. Lots of ways to do it, but to consider Immanuel in your estate plans, because it really does help us when we get in a pickle for different things, like when we had the sewer mess during the year, and just other initiatives that belong to the church. And so we keep $100,000 kind of around as kind of the minimum balance we like to have for unreserved for these just things that pop up. But otherwise, the rest, so having $175,000 that's available to the council, that's a good place to be. So I think the other bottom portion of the section here is for the ministry funds. And these are just different funds that people have either donated to or the council is dedicated to a specific purpose. And you'll see the different ministries that we have. The biggest one on that list there is for property. So we got some donations during the year to really help out with some of the landscape work that's been going on. So, so I'll just stop there if there's any questions about the balance sheet. Okay, so like I said, I've got some, next I'm going to talk about the general fund. So you'll see the $184,000. And so we spend a lot of time, I would say probably most of our time with the finance team, just talking about the general fund, since the general fund is, I like to think about it, these are the sustainable revenues, expenses that just support the day-to-day operations of the church. So this is where most of the unrestricted offering goes. And it pays for the staff and all of the utilities and some of the, all the contract services just related to the different day-to-day ministries of the church. So as I mentioned before, we have $184,000 in the fund. You can think about that as just kind of what's accumulated in the general fund over time, and that's a good place to be. Because you'll see at the bottom on line 15 on the chart below that operations tend to go up and down as best as we try to match it all up. Having a balance in the general fund for the unexpected really does help things. So probably the most important line in the budget, it's because of all of you. It's for the offering. It is the biggest line on the budget. As you'll see, we planned for $454,000 in the budget, and we came really, really close. So within 1%. So on line 1, you'll see came in at $450 or almost $451,000. That's within 1%. So that's a lot of gifts to account for, and I think we can thank so many people to help put that together, including everyone here that contributes. So as you'll see the chart at the top, we spend a lot of time, at least some time at each meeting, talking about how things go along, and we do our best to project it by month. So toward the fall we had a dip and we weren't sure if it was going to come in on budget, but we really had some strong giving at the end of the year in November, December to bring it up to budget. So all that math that we put into the budget, it worked. So thanks everyone that helped give. It is probably the most important part of our budget. So the other big piece of the budget, as you'll see at the bottom line, we had a surplus in the general fund, line 15, for $106,000. The biggest part of that was we had a federal employee retention credit. So that's You see that in line 3. So we received $83,000, almost $84,000. So this was a pandemic era federal program. If you might remember, we had a PPP loan a couple years ago, but this was a refund of payroll taxes that was eligible during the shutdown. So when the governor said that everyone out of the pool and we couldn't be at church, the federal government put this program in place to say, well, we don't want people losing their jobs around this, so they created incentives. So over the last year, we put our application in. We got a consultant to help us with this to make sure that we're including the right amount of the taxes during the right periods. And the program got delayed, and we just weren't really sure when it was going to happen. But the check did arrive in late December. And so our next step here is in our finance meeting on next week. We're going to just go through that balance and make sure it's what we expected it to be. But very good news. Since this resulted from payroll taxes that are accounted for in the general fund, we put the money into the general fund as a result. So any questions on offering or the employee retention credit?
What's included in admin?
In admin? Okay, so admin, that's going to be a lot of the business machines like the copiers and things like that. What else would we? Postage, telephone, yeah. And, yep. So I think the other part, so of course the employee retention credit was, 84,000 of our favorable surplus there of 106, but then there was also some expense savings. So we had open position for the organist during the year that contributed to our surplus there. You'll see on line 6. And also property. I'd like to think of that balance there for on line 8. You'll see $14,000. About half of that was related to utilities. That's being lucky. And then also good hard savings of our contracted services being good. The other part of that variance as well. And then also social action, you'll see, was a little over budget, but that's actually good news because you'll see on line 4, the flea market is included in other income and created, $6,000 that we were able to, favorable from budget that we're able to, send out as benevolence as part of that activity. So I'll stop there. So that's good year for 2024. Any questions? Yes?
On the membership, can you explain the variance on that?
Okay, on membership. Yeah, so the question is on membership, line 10. Let's see, this tends to be, it's going to be Wednesday night supper. So that all those costs there, but it's actually offset in part by the contributions that we get as part of that. That's the biggest difference there. Any other questions on general fund? Any online? Oh, go ahead.
Just keep going down. Education, so that was down quite a bit. Did we have fewer kids? What was the situation there?
So that, I guess I don't have the exact number there, but this is a lot of the education materials and things like that. So these tend to kind of go up and down during the years. But yeah, go ahead.
I can say a little bit to that. They're not buying Augsburg Porter's curriculum right now. They're writing their own. And so biggest expense in education is often purchasing the workbook kind of things. So that's part of it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So on our balance sheet, we had a cash balance of $146,000 for the campaign. So this is nice summary of this last campaign that we're in the middle of. It's going to end at the end of April. So you can see the yellow line. That is the gifts that we've gotten over the course of the campaign, and the solid gray line is our budget. So we're on our way to closing out that campaign, and as you can see, the gifts are coming in. So I think I don't think there's any plans for another campaign, but there are certainly capital needs out there, and I think that's just something that we'll be talking more about in the year to come. But yeah, yes.
Jeff, I don't know where this fits in, but regarding the landscaping project that we had,
Yes.
20 years ago, Karen and I wanted to give money to the church, and we didn't know, we're 65 years old, we wanted to put money aside for the church, not knowing what we're going to have future problems. Now, 20 years later, now I'm 87 years old, and but last year I decided to help the landscaping project, and so I had to go through I wanted to get money out of my retirement account, which was in stocks.
Yep.
So I had to sign a form to send, my advisor's with Fidelity, he sold the stock, and I had to go through a form in your program of receiving money, go through John Morgan, or Chase Morgan, or some other
Yep.
realtor, or not a brokerage.
Brokered.
And he charged us $500 for fees to get the money out of Fidelity into Morgan into our account at Immanuel Lutheran. And resulting in was my attorney, my advisor says I'll do it for nothing. But we have to set that up through you.
Right.
And it's not really any big hurry because sometime during the year I'll be giving money for the church, and I'd rather give it. For example, if I have stock that I paid $500 for, and now it's worth $1,000, and I give the $1,000 fee to the church, and it only cost me $500 because I don't pay taxes on it. It's a gift.
Yes.
And so therefore is one of the problems. I don't know how many situations you have that in our congregation. And it's valuable because the retirement people, we've got a lot of gray-haired people here that have retirement programs.
Right.
That wouldn't mind giving money from their retirement that it escalated in price. And by having a new authorization, I'll be able my advisor said I'll do it for nothing.
That is.
And he was a friend of Jerry. His dad was a friend of Jerry. They lived in Fairmont, and he was an honest guy. I wouldn't have any problem backing him up. But the thing about it, we have to he needs the authorization from
Yep.
from Jeff here, from the finance committee.
Yep.
To accept that. Is it in the motion? We talked about it
Yes.
last year.
Right. So I'll just summarize it for the people online too. So Dick brings up a good point. So a lot of the ways that we can save money around the church are through our contacts and others. So he's offered to have his broker be able to sell securities for free. And currently the broker we're using is charging a fee. So we'll be able to implement that this year for that. So it'll entice anyone else that is interested in giving to the church by selling stock. We should be able to do that without a fee. So I want to thank you for putting that together. So any other questions regarding the campaign? Or otherwise, I want to spend some time and talk about the FY25 budget looking forward. So Mark, you want to come on up?
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks. Am I on? Okay. Thanks, Jeff. So now we switch to the budget. So this is the 2025 budget, and we'll start at line 1, which is the projected offering income. And you'll see it's a lot bigger than what the pledge number is that you saw. And why that is because there are folks that give even though they haven't pledged, which is great. But over time, we can do this crowd math, if you will, and we've come up with a percentage. So if people are interested in what that percentage is, it's actually 19%. 1.197 is the multiplier that we use to come up with the figure that you see in line 1. Way over on the side, 450,000. It's very similar to what this year. Oh, yep. Joe will help me with that in just a second. How's that? Is that better? Okay. So the offering on line 1 is very similar to what it is today. So that's a thank you to the congregation. So just take a moment to pat yourselves on the back. It's an extraordinary position to be in. So the lines 6 through 13 matched with the presentation that Jeff just gave, and that's how we do the bookkeeping and so forth. But what I want to call your attention to is the nice pie chart on the left here is, corporation would call it business value. I'm going to coin a term here, we'll call it mission value. Here's our mission value statement. Going around the pie, media ministry in the blue is 5.4% of the budget. Worship takes up is 28%. Mercy and justice is 12.5%. ILC community outreach and so forth is almost 17% here in the green. Welcoming and inviting is 15%, and faith formation is 22%. If you want to understand what those things are, a little deeper dive, we can get little descriptions for that. But it's kind of self-explanatory by the name, and that's how, staff is kind of peanut buttered across all that. So that's how we came up with the mission value pie chart. So if we can keep going down the page there, then the surplus, the deficit at the bottom there, line 15, way over in the bottom right-hand corner there, it's showing a deficit of $2,100, but that's just how the math rolls out. But if on a percentage basis, it's about 0.5% off. So it's pretty much hitting the bullseye. So again, it's just an incredible position to be in. And thank you to the congregation for that. Makes our job up here easy, very easy for today. Any questions on the budget? This will be the budget that's presented next week. No questions. Anything from the audience? We have one here, John.
What in that budget would include expenses that go outside of the congregation?
I believe that's mostly in the community.
How about overseas?
Same.
Actually, Mark, ILC community is in-reach.
Oh, sorry.
It's to the people here at the church. Mercy and justice is where most of the outside of the building,
So-
welcome and inviting. The overseas stuff, John, is a dedicated fund that's not part of this general fund budget.
Okay. So the question was which part of the pie is internal giving and which is outreach external to the church. The green is the internal, and the mercy and justice is the external. And as Cindy clarified too, there's also designated fund that give and receive, but that's not reflected on the pie chart here. This is only general fund usage. Stephanie.
Just wanted a question about employee salaries, and are there increases included as well?
Two and a half?
2.5.
So the question is there employee salary adjustment? Yes, there's a positive 2.5% baked into this.
Thank you.
So once
And-
back to that, the guys who was sit in, and they put out recommendations that we would recommend.
And due to the extraordinary giving and pledge statements, and the really good work with the committees, we didn't have to go back and fine-tune committee budgets. Their asks are here. We didn't have to go back, so that's an incredible position as well. Okay, and great questions. Any other things? Anything online? Nothing online. Okay. Well, if you do think of something, we'll be here next week as well, or you can reach out to Jeff or myself or Jackie, or put Cindy on the spot too. I'll advance to the last slide. Oops, with this button. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Like it. All right. That's what we have. Thank you.